focus now. Solid state. Once around. It's not a race. I'm taking some took my place. Take it back one day.
Welcome everyone to the live stream with Linda. How you doing, Linda?
Oh, it's a soggy, wet day out there today.
For those of you who aren't in southern Alberta, we got a dump of snow, like a lot. Like I looked outside and I just about cried because it was 20 degrees. What was it, 2 days ago?
Oh, it was totally great. And so that's why we have to have a very uplifting talk today.
We do. We do. So for those of you who are on live, welcome. Those who are watching the recording, thanks for connecting in and watching. And if you've got any comments, questions, or things that you want to post, go ahead and do it in the comments section below. And other than that, Linda, let's dive in. What's the topic today?
Well, I wanted to do a spin-off of the anti-aging that we were talking about because that term really puts me over the edge, as you know. And we will go and dive into that deeper because we're going to go down the path of what it should be, which is more pro-aging. So how do we age it gracefully? So we'll save that little tidbit for later.
Okay.
And we have another athon. We have a soup-a-thon in January, but we're going to have another athon shortly, and I will leave you holding your breath as to what that's going to be.
Oh, sure, you can't do that. That's just not fair. You can't go and dangle and then pull away. No, you can't do that.
Come on, yeah. It's happening.
It's happening.
And it's connected to Halloween, so it's going to be fun.
It's connected to what?
Halloween.
Oh, Halloween. Okay, cool. Well, we'll have next week when we do our show, we'll have a Halloween theme. I was going to do one today, but I ran out of time to kind of dress things up at Halloween. But next week, Halloween.
Yes, and post-Halloween. Just a little warning.
Yeah, and a post-Halloween. Okay. Cool. We can do that.
But today, we're going to dive in with all the elements that seem to be floating around out there and putting us over the edge, ripping our hair out. It's politically driven.
Yeah.
It's health driven because many people are, we're changing seasons and we're wondering how to best look after ourselves and our immunity as we move more indoors.
Yep.
And it's connected to the environment. So
environment. Okay.
Yeah. So that can be both political and both our personal concerns because what we've got going on is a delayed fall start. And it's putting us all into discombobulation. Like this isn't normal. Wouldn't you say? Like 20 degrees up until almost the end of October.
Yeah, no, I can still remember having those kinds of longer summer type weather, but it's been a long, long time since we've had that.
Yeah.
I remember when we moved to Alberta back in '87 from BC, that was one of the times when we had that longer, kind of summery weather when you're in the 20s and stuff like that. And then like today, boom, you get the snow. Just no transition.
No, but it's kind of typical for us. We do get that, but earlier, and then we sort of have a recovery time as it lets us dip our toe into winter and that sort of type of precipitation, snow.
Yeah.
But what it's doing for many people, although those three topics, so, the politics going on there via the media, and then health concerns that we still all are considering, then we all have to deal with this weather shift. And we're just feeling mentally challenged. Like mental, emotional health is probably the number one thing I'm seeing in the office
Yeah.
uh, these days. And it's been for some time, as we know, because we've come out of a unusual period in our history, and we're still not balanced.
No.
And people don't have the tools to, where are they getting information? I mean, what do you type into your search?
Yeah.
Feeling not myself.
Yeah.
Uh, people can't even put words to it at times.
That's true. So yeah, even if you're trying to search for how you're feeling, I think describing how we're feeling sometimes is one of the most difficult challenges we have, to articulate that, and then trying to kind of find a couple of words that may help in a search, to trying to find that. And we may even be feeling these things and not even realize that we're just feeling like crap, or we're ready to snap in any moment or whatever, right?
Absolutely. So, in my wanderings this fall, I was enjoying looking at some of the yoga sites that were offering different asanas, exercise to incorporate into your day so that you can start with a new stress point, I guess is the word I'm trying to say.
Right, right.
You know, by bringing in the breath work, by doing in movement, they said, and they used the word, your mental health toolkit, and I just went, of course.
Hmm.
What do people have to resource when they're feeling not themselves and they can't quite put their finger on it? And sometimes we don't need to put our finger on it, we just know we're not feeling well, and labeling it is maybe a more advanced level of understanding that we're just not feeling ourselves. So that's why today I thought I would compliment the newsletter that went out uh, this morning. Mhm.
Right. Yep.
All the pressure of the week, but I got it out there. The newsletter covers off a lot of the things that I want to say, and we just aren't getting the assistance from our healthcare system. As I mentioned in there, kids are waiting anywhere for around 2.5 years to have some support or care around their anxiety. Like,
Hmm.
that is unacceptable. And adults, what are we doing? And no, we don't want to reach for the sugar, the alcohol, the smoking, the gambling, the distractions, the gaming, all
Yeah.
that sort of thing
Yeah.
to give us some uh, reprisal from the tension,
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
really what it is.
Well, it's an escape, in a lot of cases, because I've seen it in my own family with my kids who have suffered from anxiety or depression. And, it's like, what do I do to escape this awful feeling that I have, right? And if you can get it before it gets so bad that you have to escape, but the from what I've seen, the support, the support there for this is not is really not there. It's
It's
there, but it's not effective. Let maybe say it that way.
okay. Yeah, that's been my experience in shuffling people in different directions, and even in my own research on um, where are best bets, 1-800 numbers, accessible individuals that we can reach out to for some
Yeah.
assistance. And it's abysmal. I mean, I'm just shocked and disappointed and disturbed that we just haven't got that in place
Yeah.
for people to um, vent, identify, all of those things. So that's what we've got 12 things to cover on this
Hmm.
little newsletter blurb, and also in my blog. So I thought I did a point form for people to access on the website, but they can also listen in and hear our comments and discussions around each of those points, because
Yeah.
we've all had experience with this. And you've already touched on the first one, which was, how do you know you're even in a funk?
Exactly, exactly. Because I think sometimes it's like anything, we kind of gradually get there. I mean, sometimes we have a bang moment, like hitting the wall, right? And we kind of recognize, holy crap, what's going on? But I think for most people, it's kind of this gradual thing that they kind of go into. What's your experience with that?
Yeah, I think if you're fortunate enough to know that you've hit your wall because
Yeah,
you've hit it before, how many
yeah,
times,
yeah,
then you understand. We start to self observe, we go, hey, for me personally, when I know I've got too many things on my plate, I will crave chocolate. Normally, I can walk by and not even have the slightest interest in having the chocolate because I realize that sometimes when I get started on that, it's hard to quit.
yeah,
And so I've trained myself that this is not a treat time. But
yeah.
I know that I'm tempted, then that's my little barometer saying, hey, you better address some of these things that are on the back burners because they're obviously bothering me in the front burner.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I I like you have been having those things for chocolate like crazy lately, and I know I've been just burnt out or well, just suffering from all the things you've talked about, right? Like the things you've put down there. I'm feeling the same thing.
Yeah. So, first of all, do we like that feeling? Yes or
Absolutely
no? Maybe
not. Yeah.
people, that's their MO. They like to operate from that place. And then I ask them, well, how effective is your life operating from that place?
Yeah, and I think sometimes too, out of a sense of fear, people don't want to shift out because if I change something, it may get worse. And there's a fear factor that and it's legit because I felt that myself where okay, if I change this up, if I do this, will this make it worse for me or will it make it better? And there's that unknown, not having maybe talking to someone like you to say, what would happen if we did this? How is it going to affect me? And I think that unknown sometimes is okay, it's like walking down the road with a pebble in your shoe, and yeah, it hurts, but I'm focused and I'm moving forward, and it's not until it's so bad you can't walk that you take it out. And I think sometimes we don't act on mental or deal with the mental stuff until it gets really bad.
Could be, but then you got your physical symptom of the stone in the shoe, and that
True enough.
hurts. So, what have we got going on physically that's connected to our funk? So, I'm in a funk.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look at that. I have my stomach ache back. My headaches are back. Um, I have a rash on my hand. There
Yeah.
are different cues that we all get, hopefully, more minor ones than ones that have extended into years
Yeah.
because they progress in depth of difficulty to treat or they become bigger issues.
That's
Um,
so true. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
there's not a lot of scientific information that people agree with that this ongoing lack of support deteriorates your bones. So the mental emotional strain of not feeling support can affect your bones. And is
Hmm.
that an explanation for osteoporosis and osteoarthritis and our
Wow.
structure, our personal structure? And it would be fun to do. Well, we try to make it fun. Um, a program where we could talk about specifics of body parts and how they can correlate to mental emotional. I mean, you can even just look at your own family or ancestry to see, they didn't get much support from their spouse or their company or whatever it is. And look at, Uncle Frank got osteoporosis, or
Yeah.
Aunt May had to get a hip replacement, these types of things.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, there's a bit of judgment and observation going on there, but it's all information. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be labeled misinformation.
Well, and like you said in the number two there, experiment and learn. Um, and I think like you said, you've got to recognize first, and then it's like, okay, you got to try different things. Can you
Yeah.
elaborate a little bit on that?
After we've identified that we're in a bit of a funk, this is where I went with the number two, is that
Mm-hmm.
are we prepared to push away the fear factor of change and learn and experiment from our friends? What have they been doing to help take the pressure off them? Or how did they deal with aging parents? What did they do for themselves? Setting aside time every day to enjoy something. Um, there's so many different practices outside of the typical, like we mentioned, the alcohol, the drugs, the gaming, the shopping, the excuse making. That's a behavior too.
Yeah.
I'm a
Yeah.
big procrastinator when I feel pressure. Like, maybe if I put it off, but it actually gets worse.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I hear you.
So, realizing that we can maybe make some lifestyle choices. So, number two is all about just noticing that we do that behavior.
Yeah.
And can we pick a healthier behavior and start experimenting with a few things? And most importantly, um, which has, you know, we have to understand that it's going to take some time, and that's another point further down the list here. So, um, implementing structure is a fairly safe, non-scary thing to do, especially if you do it in small baby steps. We've all talked about dealing with bigger problems or
Mm-hmm.
concerns by narrowing, what we're focused on, like making our bed every morning, like routine.
Yeah. 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 No, that in fact I did a live stream yesterday on time blocking so that you could get your focus into certain areas of your life and focus on little things. But it's a challenge depending upon where you're at. You know, to get that, to get those little anchors to help yourself out. Yeah, like you said, it all boils down to number one first. You got to recognize that you need to make some adjustments, right?
Yes, and not making a big one. Like,
No.
I'm going to start exercising 15 minutes every day.
Yeah.
Come hell or high water, you're going to do 15 minutes and pick the consistent time of day that is helpful for you and the purpose so you're successful.
Yeah.
That's the other thing that needs to be investigated, and sometimes we need trainers or support, or your practitioners helping you decide what's the best time and place for you. So, looking at structure so that we can implement these things and then get a sense of completion, and where that's taking us is into a sense of control, because when we have mental emotional instability and we need a reset, we need to feel that we have a sense of control over some things.
Yeah.
It's certainly not the weather
No. Or the politics.
or the politics, unless you're, writing emails and making phone calls. Of course,
Yeah.
that gives you some input. You could say, I'm going to write one MLA or alderman a week to voice my opinion on how something's. Then you feel that you've addressed part of what's bothering you.
Yeah. Yeah. You've got it kind of off your chest, and you've thrown it at a few others, right?
Well, rather than letting it worrying around in your own
Mm-hmm.
mind that you're upset about something and it's aggravating, take it into action, but make it a small action that you can actually do.
And I appreciate that comment about a small action, because for some that are watching, maybe typical like me, where I have to work on that, because when I recognize something's off, I'll look at it and, okay, I got to make all these adjustments, and I'll make a big, I got to do all of these things, and then
Over.
I'll start, but it's too overwhelming, and then fall back into the same rut as before. And so I'm aware of that now, but it took me a while to be aware that, okay, I got to do a small little thing, just a small little thing to move me forward. And so I really appreciate that point, because it is a really valid point.
Yeah, and for you and maybe some others, that is the biggest point. Selecting something that will have impact may be another person's point. It can
Mm-hmm.
even be big for them, but
Mm-hmm.
they need to feel and see the results of that decision, because then you're going to get that at a go feeling like, yes, I've made a change.
Yeah.
And now you're starting to shift from feeling anxious, angry, frustrated, glum to, hey, opportunity. I think it's going to work. Like the shift in the feeling in your body
Mm-hmm.
is positive, and you have different chemicals then coming through your body, whether you want to call them hormones or endorphins or whatever. The shift is more to a positive state of mind because you've got a sense of control and you are moving in a direction at a pace that you're happy with.
Exactly. And just a word of caution, be careful not to go and look at other people and think, "Oh, I need to be like them," because that's the Achilles heel of all of this is looking at other people. Forget about other people. What do you need to do for you, right? Because otherwise, if you start measuring yourself against somebody else, you're going to beat the daylights out of yourself and get yourself in a worse position.
I had a really fun conversation around cultural differences that way.
Mm-hmm.
And we do need to look to others, as sort of you know, having some fun with that comment of yours, because that's how we learn. Oh,
For
I
sure.
don't want to do that, but I would like to do more of this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and my comment wasn't not to look at other people, but to judge yourself based on what you see in other people, and that's the thing you have to be careful of.
that's right. And with that judgment also comes with worrying about what other people think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when that's a huge cultural thing, in a few of my patients, and they feel that they're constantly triggered by hearing that from others in their family.
Mm.
So when we consider what other people think, just think of the huge and enormous pressure that puts on ourselves, because number one, we don't know what they're really thinking. So we're
Right.
wasting so much energy guessing that.
Yeah.
And most people at the end of the day are more worried about what they're doing than what you're doing.
That's right. That's so true, right? We fill in the blanks, right? We make it worse than it really is.
I think so. Yeah, a few reality checks, and you bounce those off of people. Like you yourself, just saying, the last thing you want to do is judge yourself based on what other people are doing. Having the time and the space to tune into your personal awareness, what works for you, is
Right.
that satisfying or not? And then that moves you into being aware of your choices. So
Right.
if you choose to go and eat the chocolate and then you end up with an extra 10 pounds at the end of the day or month or week or however long the eating of the chocolate goes on, then you're in a problem.
Yeah.
So being mindful constantly in this process of the 12 items in the toolkit and how we're applying them is super important. So when someone says to you, oh, take a breath, put it down, let it go, I,
Mm-hmm.
those types of statements also put me over the edge, because there's not enough context and fluff around them.
That's true. That's so true. That is so true.
So when we're letting something go, it means shift your focus from what that person just said or did, or your worry or concern, to, just like a computer, you unplug, literally have to unplug in your mind and switch over to thinking about something else
Yeah.
that quickly. And I've seen people with skills that do it, and it looks a little robotic when you're first attempting that process and getting it in part of your toolkit,
Mm-hmm.
but it works.
Yeah, it definitely does. I'm aware of that. I've researched quite a bit of that myself personally, and yeah, being able to do a shift like that at the beginning is hard, but once you get used to making those shifts, it can change everything. And you've got down there breathing, which is a really quick way of doing it for yourself.
Yes, yes. I mean, breath awareness, when we're anxious, nervous, frustrated, put the adjective in there, we aren't taking proper breaths.
Mm-hmm.
And our body will feel more panicked and upset with lack of oxygen.
Yeah.
So it aggravates your nervous system to boot.
Yeah.
So they're the box breathing, the 4-4-4, breathe
Mm-hmm.
in for 4, hold for 4. I like thinking of 4 because it's the seasons. And
Yeah.
so you tie it into earth patterns and rhythms. I put a little inhale nose, exhale mouth process in the notes there, because you're breathing in and you're blowing out with force.
Mm-hmm.
That for 3 times, and then you breathe in, hold the oxygen in for a longer count, and then do a slow, long exhale, so the nerves tend to then acclimatize and reset into a better state of awareness and relaxation. That
Mm-hmm.
is one of my favorite that I do in practice, in yoga practice, in
Mm-hmm.
class. I find it, I mean, you can't do that type of breathing when you're in the bank lineup. It just looks a
Well,
little
you could. It just
but the being mindful of the breath and how you're breathing, if you're breathing, will definitely help you shift your mood and state of mind.
I like what you said. If you're breathing, I don't think you probably won't remember this, but when you and I first met and I came to you for some help, uh, we were sitting talking and you said, "You know something, Gary?" And I went, "What's up?" And you go, "You're not breathing." I go, "Yeah, I'm breathing." And you go, "No, you're not breathing." And I was really shallow breathing, and I was, you would be talking and I'd be holding my breath, but not knowing that I was holding my breath. So I wasn't breathing properly, and it was really too funny, but it was just the way you did it. It was just like, "You're not breathing."
Oh dear.
But it was good though, because I wasn't aware that I wasn't breathing, and I was all tensed up and everything, and well, because I was holding my breath,
Yeah.
and so that was until you realize something like that, and you go, "Oh my gosh, I'm not breathing. Oh, how's that affecting me?"
Yes. Yes. And I guess I was a little shocked too, because here I was, somebody who was pouring out all their information and wanted to have it translate, and so I could understand, and yet I could feel and see the intensity. And I thought, wow, if this fellow is experiencing that regularly, how much oxygen is his brain getting?
Yeah, so that has, that kind of tells me a lot of things that I was kind of wondering about, not getting enough oxygen.
So when we exercise, we will also be breathing in. So
Hmm.
people that may not believe in pranayama or yogic breath work, they are actually doing more deep breathing, or aware to a certain level of how much they're out of breath
Yeah,
when they're exercising. So
yeah,
that awareness is important, and exercise creates flow and movement. So when we start moving our bodies around, we get a sense of where we are in space. Where's my feet? Where's my arms? Oh, I have arms. I'm not just all in my head. And it's helpful in getting us into sensing and feeling, because
yeah,
that's what we're trying to avoid, is
yeah.
our senses and feeling. And that's where I like to take the flow and the exercise comment too.
Does just a question about um, not breathing or not breathing properly? Do you find that a lot of people, whether it's cultural, whether it's the stress, whether it's the things we're actually talking about, affect breathing um, more than not?
You mean,
That people
sorry.
that people aren't getting the breath work that they should. Like we all know how to breathe. We got to breathe to live. But do you think a lot of us are not breathing doing the shallow breathing like I would do, or holding their breath because they're tense about something and not breathing properly, or just the stress, the anxiety, whatever, contributing a high level to or making, even exacerbating the issue because we're not breathing properly.
Right. And well, what jumped to my mind was my yogic mentor
Mm-hmm.
who recommended to his patients that when they have asthma, that they actually exercise and deep breathe, so they exercise their lungs. Otherwise, if you're shallow breathing and only breathing with the top part of your lungs, is what he said,
Mm-hmm.
then you're not getting the little alveoli, that the little sacs that help take in the oxygen. They're kind of stuck, and
Mm.
so hence you rely on inhalers and sprays to force them apart when you actually could just use oxygen to
Right. Right.
expand them,
Just blow that balloon up.
blow them so that they're actually moving and
Yeah.
expanding, and then you have better exchange of oxygen than going into the into the bloodstream, because you have more of your lung tissue being used.
Yeah. Yeah. That totally makes sense. I think that's something we should all be, be having top of mind as far as.
And try this fun exercise. When I was studying Kundalini yoga, we were told that the yogis would try because there's the adage of how many heartbeats is how long you're going to live. So you got to slow your heart rhythm down because you only have so many heartbeats.
Right.
So if you're, pitter patter like a little bunny rabbit, you're not going to have a long life. But if you slow that heart rate down, and according to the yogics, they will say, and you slow the breath per minute down. So they were practicing doing 4 breaths per minute. That's very
Whoa.
difficult,
Yeah.
and still feel awake. Because it's the expansion of the lung. So you're using the full lung to get
Yeah.
all of that air in 15 seconds, and then you
Wow.
exhale it out. So, but doing that all the time, not just when you're sitting there meditating.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that's a
Wow is
challenge.
right.
Yeah, because they believe that you only have so many breaths. So if you use up too many breaths too quickly, so
Yeah.
that is not good.
Yeah.
That's a short life.
That might deter people who exercise and have to breathe a lot and their hearts are pounding. Oh, geez, I better not exercise. I think that's bad for my health.
That way, or
Don't take it that way, folks.
well, I don't know. Excessive exercises, they also learn how to control their breath. I always think of when I heard about Wayne Gretzky, who was just, an excellent hockey player, and he would go for it on the ice, and he would be quickly, when he comes back offline, he's in his rest mode, he would immediately start breathing through his nose as quickly as he could, as opposed to through the mouth
Oh,
breathing,
really?
to acclimatize that and to improve his stamina.
Wow.
Yeah, it was interesting to learn that. I didn't realize he was so breath aware.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So we already kind of talked about the think and don't think.
Mm-hmm.
Like plugging, like notice that is really bothering us. So how do we unplug and don't think and overanalyze something? Time to switch to another mode. Like if you're worried about your job, okay, well, give yourself a certain amount of time to think about it. What are some solutions? And then you put it aside. So you rest the nervous system. You take it
Right.
out of sympathetic state, put it into parasympathetic state,
Right.
and go and do something that you enjoy or like thinking about, or photographs and art or colors around you that make you feel uplifted. There are different ways to move out of the overthinking into the don't thinking, and
Right.
just be in a state, and letting it pass through you is another recommendation people have made. If you can do that, awesome. But if it's something that is too much and too overwhelming, grief, for example, then it may be to your advantage to feel the grief and then choose to switch to now do something that you enjoy. And it will take time for that transition, but it will get there if you
Yeah.
persevere. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. True enough. True enough. Yeah, the switching can be hard, but it's something if you recognize that you're only giving yourself so long to deal with whatever, like you said, the job thing, and say, I can continue on looping this thing and worrying and stressing, or I can get to a point where I say, okay, I there's nothing more I can do, shift. And for me to make those shifts or stuff that you and I've talked about before is go meditate for 20 minutes. Just to try to breathe and just say some mantra or what have you, and just relax.
Yes, and to me, that's where the prayer work, prayer or a mantra, anything that you're focusing on repeating,
Hmm.
uh, helps the mind relax and shift out of that focus
Yeah.
on negative thing.
Yeah.
And it's not that you're trying to ignore it. It's what you're trying to do is, or attempting to do, is give that relaxation period. And this is where people will resort to the not good lifestyle choices,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
as opposed to, okay, well, if you like looking at old classic cars, then have a book or a magazine or something that you like to flip through when you need that mental break from
Right.
something. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And get,
Exactly.
get those other endorphins and chemicals moving through your body, because there's more to life than just these concerns.
Yeah. True
Doesn't
enough.
mean, doesn't mean that they're not there. It's just, if you're not moving into action about them at that moment, writing the letter, um, putting a new resume together, uh, discussing potential financial alternatives, then you move to
Yeah.
another. Yeah, you switch.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I think being aware that you can do that without being irresponsible or not being accountable. Like this is where the mindfulness part comes in. We have to
Mm-hmm.
be mindful that we're making these choices, not running away from.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, going to those bad places where we're, taking the drugs or the alcohol or the whatever bad habits, is not going to make you better. It's not going to make you feel better. For a moment, you may kind of disconnect, but it's not an answer. I've seen that. I've seen that with people that I know, and it never works out the way you want it.
Right. So it is an answer, but it's not, the consequences are not going to be maybe where
The
you
co-
want to go. And
yeah, the
that,
cost is too steep.
yeah. And people I've had say to me, for instance, in the last 2 years, I've put on 60 to 80 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
That's consequences. Okay,
Yeah.
now we've got some cardiovascular issues. We've got fluid building up in the lower legs. This is on account of the, it's nothing wrong with your heart. It's strictly pressure now on the liver and kidneys and your digestive tract that is accumulating fluid. So
Right.
we got to make some new choices. And you made the choice to do that route for the time being, but now you've got the consequences and new
Yeah.
and more choices.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. True enough.
Which leads into the next point, which is about nourishing food and good digestion. So, yeah, we'd all like to go and resort to pizza, Peter's Drive-In, whatever it is. Guilty. A Cocoa Moco milkshake is kind of on my agenda at times. Um,
Oh, now my mouth's watering. Come on.
so, you make the choice, and the thing you have to remember about our brain. So, if our brain is where we're housing all these negative thoughts, as opposed to where our feelings are in our heart and in our body, um, when we eat more nutritious food and snacks, we're creating metabolic byproducts, or we're taking in toxins that then are in the intracellular fluid of our body.
Mm-hmm.
That fluid in our gut then travels via the cerebral spinal fluid up to our brain at night to clean the brain, because the brain doesn't eat, we eat, and it's in our gut, and then we use that fluid to cleanse our brain. So if you have dirty fluids washing your brain, I don't think the brain's going to be too happy.
No.
I think it'll feel inflamed, aggravated, and its circulation will be compromised.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the fallout of not eating well when we're not feeling up to snuff.
Yeah. That's true.
We
And
want to help.
it's a slippery slope to do that too. You start on, oh, I'm just going to have this one, and then next thing you know, you're kind of, because it does give you something. There is a reward to eating those junk foods. You feel for a short period of time, just like any other addiction. You feel good for a little bit, but the consequences and the cost of those consequences are you willing to accept those consequences, right?
Yeah, and I'm laughing. Mohan must be hanging around me. He passed away in 2003, because he just popped in and said to me, yeah, remember when I used to say to people, yeah, for that 3 seconds of mouth feel, the taste, is it worth the 10 pounds on the hips?
Yeah, that's true.
And it was funny, because people would often take a bit back and go,
Yeah.
wow, he's right. It's only for that while I'm eating it that it's great.
Really? Yeah.
And how quick does that go? Yeah, that was pretty funny. So, yes, now engaging all the senses when we need to feel better. It and I wanted, I have to add that in there, because I thought of another one for sight, because sight is also color. That's why I wore a pink shirt. What color shirt's your today? Yours is blue. So, we want to wear and be around colors that make us feel good.
Yeah.
So today I could have chosen to have a gray shirt on because it's overcast and it's snowing. I kind of feel cozy, because it makes me happy I can be in the house and get caught up on all the inside house things now.
Sure. Yeah.
But engaging all the senses when we're reaching into a toolkit, and each of us will have our favorites. So is it going to be music for hearing that makes us feel better? Is it something we're watching or observing? Is it a scent, like diffusers with the aromatherapy are lovely?
Right. Yeah.
Maybe it's just something simple as your favorite hand cream. I really like this. I think they're called Times eucalyptus hand cream. I just feel wonderful when I put that on, even if it's just for that few seconds of applying it.
Yeah. Just finding something, and you're right that all the different senses. It could be having one of those little foot massager things where you plug it in and it just you're sitting there maybe on the computer or reading a book or whatever, and it's just massaging your feet a little bit, right? It can be something simple like that.
Easy, yeah. Or one of those wooden rollers. That's one I like. Just roll back and forth with your foot, and look forward to a shower with your favorite gel.
Yeah.
Hopefully a healthy one, but some kind of a soap. Like I enjoy this particular bar of soap that I buy at the market, and it just makes me feel good.
Yeah.
And it's a simple thing, and I feel supported because I could have it, and I look forward to doing something that is for me.
And it's funny the smell, like the diffuser, and around Christmas time, which isn't that far away, they have these candy cane soap, like for when you're in the shower, and I love those. You get up in the morning, you have a shower with that, and it just smells like candy cane. It's just like it just feels great. Yeah. So I know. Yeah. So those are just little things, but boy, they make a difference.
They really do, because and I'm going to talk about that now. Well, there's the taste, and we'll spend a little. Tasting is like the chocolate and good foods and things, and I want to talk bit about intuition. But when what I want to mention is right now, when we're creating this toolkit for ourselves, and what are our favorite things to do that we need to do to feel supported, that the world isn't crumbling around us. Um, what can we do? And women tend to call it self-care.
Mm. Yeah, I've heard that term.
So, okay. But then I was exploring a little more and came across what men could call that, as opposed to, self-care sounds a little bit, not
Not manly?
whatever. We got to be careful there. Um, but protection. So men protect themselves because that's their go-to as providers, and they provide protection for people, and they look out for others, so they can protect themselves. So what am I doing to support and protect myself as a man?
Yeah.
I like music. I like fast cars to look at. I like to go for a run. I meditate.
Yeah.
What's the list for the guys that they
So
use
so
to
so
protect?
we call that sharpening the saw.
Oh, sharpening the saw.
Sharpening the saw. Yep. Yeah. Anything to yep. It's gonna go sharpen the saw. That's a manly term. Not that we sharpen saws any longer, but back in the day, I guess they did.
I like it. Okay, so somebody can tell you to go sharpen this a saw. What do you do to go and sharpen your saw? Oh well, I like candy cane scented soap, and
Yeah.
I like kicking back in my comfy chair,
Yeah,
reading
it
a
could be
good book.
something simple like, going in the garage for a guy and tinkering, if you're kind of mechanically, go tinkering on a car or a truck or a motorcycle or whatever. All sorts of little things that for a guy's perspective. And then when you're finished goofing off in the garage, you can go have your shower with your candy cane soap.
Perfect. And I gotta say, this older couple were moved into, and it's stressful. They moved into a more of a retirement home, not a nursing home, but sort of a stage where they haven't got all the responsibilities of
Right.
running their own household. And after a year, um, the husband was just so upset that he needed to move back to the ranch, but
Mm.
his wife was very happy in this environment. So they agreed to live separately, but regularly get together. He's gone back to the ranch, and she's enjoying her social life in the retirement home. So,
Isn't that interesting, eh?
yeah,
Wow.
because he can go and tinker or work on things. So what that discussion led into was that maybe not enough of these retirement villages or homes provide enough for everybody's interest levels.
Yeah, exactly.
Not everybody plays cards and goes to chair yoga or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah, so like you said, find what fits for you.
You totally. And with intuition, and I call the sixth sense. Technically, it's supposed to be proprioception, meaning like where are you in space and time and on the earth? Like where is your body? We talked about that a little bit
That's an
already.
interesting word. I've never heard of that word.
Yeah, so I'm touching this, and it feels like that because I can feel the pressure on my finger.
Yeah.
Um, this sort of thing, like becoming aware of not aches and pains, but hey,
No. Yeah, yeah. Isn't that
and that's what
interesting?
exercise does.
Right. Okay.
Exercise and hiking, that kind of thing. You're looking at your surroundings. Where am I in relationship to that mountain, next to this tree, walking along the sidewalk?
Yeah.
So that's kind of understanding where we are in time and space. But there's also, I call, intuition. So what is our intuition saying to us? When we slow down, we have our best answers for ourselves.
Yeah.
And taking the time to tune in and understand that and learn about intuition, I think, is a major tool
It
to
is. It
develop.
And I was talking with a colleague yesterday. We did a live stream with a group of people, and one of the biggest things you can do is walk away from this. Just walk, leave it someplace. Don't take it with you. Sometimes, doing like you talk about doing a cleanse. Sometimes you need to do a technical cleanse. Just leave it. If you're going to go hiking, enjoy the hike. Don't sit there and I've seen people walking or hiking, and they're looking at their phone. I'm going, my gosh, it's like I'm going to go and exercise, and while they're exercise, they got a cigarette hanging out of their mouth and a can of beer. It's like it doesn't balance it out.
Well, what did we used to do without those things is what I say. I got along just fine in the world without a cell phone. I don't know about
Me
you.
too.
So I
Oh
wasn't
yeah.
kidding. I said some days with technology, because I'm doing this off my phone today,
Mm-hmm.
I could do horse and buggy again.
Yeah, yeah, and in fact, you mentioned that earlier today that you could get, and you're absolutely right. And sometimes we get so addicted to the technology that we just need to go walk away, go for a walk, go for a walk.
Yeah.
Even in
Oh, I love it.
even in this weather, it's still great to go walk. It's not super cold out.
It's a habit. I think developing a habit and a ritual or a routine, as we talked about, the structure, doing it without thinking about it, like think, don't think. You're just doing
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
And once you've repetitively done it, you actually start to look forward to it. It's like drinking water. Once you start drinking your 1,500, 2,000 mils a day of water, if you miss, you will start to notice that you miss the water because it became so part of who you are and what you need to do for yourself.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Hmm.
yeah,
Which then we're going to talk about now is the supportive remedies. So I'm kind of laughing when I sent out that newsletter. People might have been expecting this presentation to be all about, oh, take vitamin C and zinc and St. John's wort and whatever other, insomnia addressing herbs or potions. Yes, I like all my tonics. I do. I'm going to list a few of them. I have an adrenal tonic, I have an immune tonic, a digestive tonic, an insomnia tonic. Many of these things are helpful for us to get over a period of lapse
yeah,
or imbalance. So
yeah,
those things are meant to get you on track once you get your lifestyle things in order.
mm-hmm,
And they are nutritive. They do help your body recover, and they can be very, very helpful. Just like, B complex, vitamin C. I mean, I talked about some teas. Maybe you can have a little ritual tea when you're upset and anxious or nervous or feeling grief. Um, that's a nice gift to give someone. Here's a wonderful tea mixture that I like, that when you're missing Harold or whatever, you might want to have this tea to just think about. Take 15 minutes and remember all the wonderful times you had together,
yeah,
whatever it is.
yeah,
um I don't, vitamins and minerals and oils I've got there, like the omegas, are really important to support our brain function, especially if you've got it inflamed from aggravating sympathetic nervous system crazy thoughts,
yeah,
and, and a digestion that is responding to all that emotion and then making you have a dirty brain.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Dirty brain. I love that. I love that. I love
well,
that term.
dirty brain is better, I guess, than dirty mind. Oh my goodness. Let's not do that. Okay. So
Oh, that's too funny.
consult your practitioners, whether it's your massage therapist or whoever it is. Like, have people that are nurturing to you, is sort of something that they know you. You can express your concerns. It's a venting opportunity, and then it's over. Like, they need to show you that you're allowed to do this for so long, and then what are you going to do about it? Is
Yeah,
the bottom line. So,
yeah,
well, you know, you need good listeners,
yeah. No, that's true. That's really true.
and listening can actually, I think, be a great profession. You can hang a shingle out. Excellent listener, and people will solve their own problems right in front of you when you're listening to them.
Yeah, it is actually part of psychotherapy is actually maybe asking a question and I'm not saying anything and just letting the person run with it and
Yeah,
come to conclusions. I do it in my coaching consulting practice, and yeah, it's and it is effective. I've seen people solve their own problems, and once they do that, they see the picture. So as you solve your own problems, you see what others probably have seen for a while. Like when you go to Linda and she sees your potential for health, and you don't see what she sees yet,
yes.
right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I have to practice patience. Not you, the patient. I practice the patience in waiting for you to catch on to see how the path needs to be set.
So think of it this way for those who are listening.
Uh-oh.
You're like a parent, seeing the potential in your child and the child not doing the things that they should be doing to get the health. As a coach for me and as a health practitioner for Linda, we're like the parents, and it's like drives us nuts. And you can't just go out and say,
I'll
like a
fix
kid
it.
with your kids when they were young, smarten up, go and put your jacket on when you're outside and it's 40 below. It doesn't work like that. So, we're very limited on how we can um, invite you to have better health, right?
Yes, and a calm nervous system and be the eye in the storm
Mm-hmm.
of your life, because you can wait and be old and ga- gather this information, or you can start to pay attention to ideas, and you don't have to implement all these ideas. Just pick one that you really like and know that works for you.
Yeah,
So the time and patience, repetition, you know, hone the skill, give it a chance,
yeah,
bump it off somebody. Am I doing this right? How come I'm not getting the results? Is it not right for me? Um, so, my latest kick with that is exercise. More people need to do exercise in the morning, not when they feel like it fits into their schedule, because it goes with the rhythm of cortisol in your body.
yeah.
If you're forcing your body to push out cortisol through exercise, you're going to burn your adrenals out. So please, please, please do what you can to do your exercise earlier in the day. Yeah. And
Very good.
people will argue, well, if I won't do it at all if I can't do it in the evening. Well, okay, but that's where the experiment and learn comes in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I see it. I see it in myself. Opportunities and things that I could choose or do differently and implement, that will help me um, produce less collateral damage around me when I'm all anxious, worried, stressed. Um, yeah, I guess you want to be that which you are speaking about.
Yeah, yeah. You want to walk the talk, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, and we're all improving. That's the journey of life, right? We all have a story. We all have things, and we're just trying to help each other.
Yeah, you've helped me out immensely with that,
Oh,
Gary.
and you've helped me
Stop
out immensely. I mean, it's
being
that's the
so
thing.
hard on myself.
What's that?
Stop being so hard on myself is, I think, the one you've pointed out.
Well,
Uh,
exactly, exactly. Just do
yeah,
it the best you can and keep moving forward. As long as you're moving forward, that's a good thing.
yeah, yeah. That's a very cultural North American thing. We
It
have to
is.
be moving forward. Maybe we just need to sit and pause.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that because that's true. It is a saying moving forward, and the context of me putting in there is don't get into those bad habits that are moving you backwards, and that's the
Uh-huh.
context of saying that. But you're absolutely right. In fact, you're probably more off better to just stand still and be quiet, listen
Mm.
to your body, listen. Like you said with that cool word, I can't even. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it.
Proprioception.
Yeah, okay. And get in tune with whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With our environment, with where we
Yeah.
are in life and all that good stuff. So these things too will pass. A good maybe point to end on is that what we are anxious and worried about and stressed and frustrated today in this moment is going to be different, moments from now, an hour from now, tomorrow.
Yeah.
It doesn't stay.
No.
It's always shifting and moving. Like, do you remember what you were anxious and stressed out about a year ago at this time?
No.
No, me neither. Will
No.
this matter 3 months ahead? One of my friends said to me, and I was like being ridiculous about making a decision. And she says, "Is this really going to be impactful on you, 3 months
Yeah.
from now?"
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Put it in perspective for me.
Well, and we've kind of gotten into that mode where everything is a big deal, right? The
Yeah,
littlest thing is our big deals, and it's like, really? Yeah,
yeah,
it's gotten, like you're talking at the beginning, things have gotten a little bit crazy.
yeah. Where's the humor?
Yeah. Yeah, we need more humor and more music.
Yeah, when I hear things that are going on and being said now, I kind of laugh more than I do get frustrated.
Yeah.
It's comical.
Well, you have to change how you look at it, otherwise it's going to eat you up, right?
That's for sure. Thank you,
All,
Gary.
all right. Thanks everyone for those who showed up and those who are watching the recording. Hopefully you've gained some benefit out of this. I know I have. This has been I learned a new word. I can't say it yet, pronounce it yet, but no, there's been some good stuff in here, and these are things to reflect on. This is something that I would do: sit down with your favorite beverage, a hot chocolate, or your cup of tea, and maybe print this off of Linda's site and just kind of review these 12 points, because I think there's gold there if you're willing to just take a little bit of time and take a breath and read up on that. So thank you, Linda, for sharing these 12 points with us.
Yeah, go build a snowman.
There you go. All right, everyone. Have a great rest of your weekend. Bye for now. We'll see you next week.